Have you ever been fired at the exact moment you accomplished the impossible? That's exactly what happened to Rosa Martinez, a humble cleaner who in one single night turned chaos into peace inside the mansion of a broken millionaire. Nathan Cross had everything money could buy, except what mattered most, the ability to love and be loved. When their worlds collided, neither of them realized they were about to change not only their own destinies, but the lives of 5 lost, wounded children. Get ready to dive into a story of redemption, love, and courage where luxury meets humility and pain transforms into hope. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. I want to see how far this story will travel and how many hearts it will touch. The Cross mansion seemed to breathe tension that morning. Nathan Cross, a millionaire surrounded by luxury and loneliness, reviewed papers while chaos echoed through the halls. 5 children's voices mixed between screams, laughter, and tears. Since Claire's death, nothing had stayed in place. The house, once full of life, had become a golden prison, where no smile survived for long. 7 nannies had passed through in just 1 week. All fled, defeated by the children's cruel mischief. Emma led with teenage firmness, the twins conspired endlessly. Lucas was always covered in paint, and little Lily cried for a mother who would never return. Nathan watched from afar, hiding behind reports and meetings, trying to control the uncontrollable. Rosa Martinez, the house's cleaner, quietly erased the traces of that broken routine. Black, beautiful, and discreet, her steps were light but carried the weight of many battles. Nathan saw her as part of the scenery, until the day desperation spoke louder. Just before a crucial meeting, he asked, "Rosa, I need you to watch them for a few hours. Just today." She hesitated but agreed. She needed the money. She needed to try. The children awaited her like hunters setting traps. They had already decided that no adult would survive more than 1 afternoon there. But Rosa wasn't like the others. While they shouted and tested her patience, she only smiled. The cleaner who used to tidy up chaos was now facing it head-on. And little by little she began to change it, not with authority but with patience. With a calm, firm tone, she led them into laughter and forgotten games. Lucas showed his drawings. Emma listened without commanding, and even the twins, tired of mischief, fell asleep in each other's arms. When night fell, the impossible happened, silence. A different kind of silence, the peaceful kind. And in the middle of the playroom floor, Rosa slept, exhausted, surrounded by 5 children, all surrendered to rest. Nathan arrived shortly after 10. The mansion was quiet, and that silence frightened him. He climbed the stairs, expecting the worst. He opened doors, called names, but no one answered. When he pushed open the playroom door, he froze. His children, the same little demons no one could control, slept soundly. And there, in the middle of them, the cleaner rested, her hair messy, her face serene. For an instant, Nathan felt something rare, mise. But pride was faster. "You're fired," he shouted, breaking the spell. The words cut the air like a blade. Rosa woke up startled, trying to understand his fury. Lily, frightened, grabbed her teddy bear and began to cry. The others woke in shock, not understanding why their father was shouting. The man who commanded entire corporations had just lost control of his own home. The children stood up to him like never before. Emma, steady and brave, was the first to speak. "She can't leave," she said, eyes glistening. Lucas stood beside the cleaner, holding his cardboard rocket like a shield. The twins and Lily joined, forming a small human wall. Rosa tried to calm them down, but the damage was done. The fragile trust that had begun to grow was breaking apart. Nathan hadn't expected this. He hadn't expected loyalty nor affection, much less love. The children's words echoed through the room as truths he refused to face. The cleaner had done the impossible, calmed the chaos, united broken hearts, rekindled bonds long forgotten. But he, the millionaire who ruled the world, couldn't accept that salvation for his home had come from a simple woman's hands. And as his voice echoed down the corridors, something invisible shifted within them all. Rosa gathered her things in silence, eyes down, offering no defense. The children cried quietly, anger brewing in their small hearts. And Nathan, unaware, had just opened the door to a war no amount of money could win. That single "fired" would become only the first act of a story far from over. Nathan climbed the mansion stairs like a soldier heading into battle. The hallway was swallowed by a silence so heavy it felt suspicious. He expected the worst. Scribbled walls, overturned furniture, maybe even a small domestic explosion. With every step, his shoes echoed against the marble like the ticking of a nervous clock. The millionaire didn't know it yet, but something inside that house had changed while he was gone. The bedroom doors were half open and the air smelled faintly of dry paint and soap. No sound, no crying, no chaos, only calm. Nathan quickened his pace, confused. The man who could command billion-dollar mergers and entire markets didn't know how to deal with the mystery of simple silence. He took a deep breath before pushing open the playroom door, and the world seemed to stop. The scene before him defied all logic. The toys were neatly stacked, the books arranged in careful piles, and the cushions formed a cozy little nest. In the center, his 5 children slept deeply, scattered like tired angels. Emma with an open book, Lucas with dried paint on his hands, the twins intertwined, and Lily clinging to her teddy bear. And there among them the cleaner, her face peaceful, her body curved with exhaustion. Nathan froze, his hand still on the doorknob, staring at what looked like a miracle. The room breathed peace, a peace he hadn't felt since Claire's funeral. For an instant, the hardened heart of the millionaire softened. It was as if time had turned back, as if the ghosts of grief had been chased out of the house for one brief night. But pride pulled him back to reality. Power had always spoken louder than feeling. He stepped forward twice, the sound of his soles muffled by the carpet. The noise was enough to make Rosa stir slightly, still half asleep, Lily nestled in her lap. The tenderness of that sight unsettled him. How had a simple cleaner accomplished what 7 professionals couldn't? The question burned in his mind. Pride turned into fury disguised as reason. The perfect silence shattered under the weight of his voice. "You're fired!" Nathan roared, and the mansion seemed to tremble. Rosa opened her eyes, confused, trying to understand the anger. Little Lily whimpered, clutching the woman's uniform. Emma jumped up wide-eyed. The man who spoke to shareholders like a king was now yelling at the only person who had brought light back into his home. And within seconds, the miracle began to fall apart. The children woke one by one, forming a small human barricade around Rosa. Emma, still half asleep, was the first to react. "No, Dad. You can't fire her." Lucas lifted his cardboard rocket like a trophy. The twins clung to the cleaner's legs, and Lily, crying, whispered, "Don't send Rosita away." The man used to obedience was, for the first time, being challenged in his own house. Rosa, still trying to grasp the scene, stood slowly. Her calm, steady gaze met Nathan's for an instant. She didn't argue, didn't beg, she held her dignity like armor. The tension thickened, a rope stretched taut between them. The millionaire, surrounded by love and simplicity, seemed smaller than ever before beside that woman in a blue uniform and an enormous heart. But his pride wouldn't let him admit it. The silence that followed was sharper than any shout. Nathan ordered everyone back to bed. The children resisted, but Rosa soothed them with a soft gesture. "It's all right," she whispered. She tucked in the little ones, gathered the blankets, and with tearful eyes walked out of the room. Behind her, the sound of muffled sobs mixed with the footsteps of regret. As she descended the stairs, Nathan felt something inside him twist. The house, for a brief moment, had been a home again, and now it was nothing more than a monument to his own success. The millionaire closed his eyes for a second, feeling the invisible weight of a loss he couldn't yet name. The miracle had happened, and he had destroyed it with a single phrase. The sound of Nathan's shout still echoed through the mansion, as silence fell like glass shattering. Rosa stood motionless, her hand trembling near the blanket she had just tucked around Lily. The children, one by one, began to stir, confused, frightened, then furious. Emma was the first to move, her blue eyes burning with a fire her father hadn't seen in months. The air in the room thickened. Something inside that family was about to break. Nathan, the millionaire used to absolute authority, felt every gaze turn against him. Emma stepped forward, voice quivering but firm. "She's the only one who played with us. Dad, she's the only one who cared." Lucas clutched his cardboard rocket, its edges frayed, his small chin trembling. "She said I'm an artist," he blurted, holding it up as if it proved something sacred. Behind them, the twins moved closer to Rosa, while Lily hid her face in her lap. Rosa, the cleaner who had unknowingly become their anchor, tried to calm the storm. "Please, children, your father is right to be upset," she murmured softly, though her voice trembled. But the little army of 5 would not yield. Emma shook her head. "It's okay, Dad. defiance glowing in her eyes. "No, he's wrong. You're not like the others. You didn't leave us." Her words sliced through the cold space between them like light through glass. Nathan felt his throat tighten, though his pride refused to let it show. He was a man who negotiated million-dollar deals without flinching. Yet here he stood, disarmed by a 12-year-old's truth. His hand twitched at his side, half wanting to reach for his daughter, half wanting to end the argument. But every word Emma spoke pulled another brick from the wall he had built around himself. The millionaire was losing ground in his own home. Lucas stepped closer to Rosa, his small hands stained with dried paint. "We built it together," he whispered, holding up the little rocket toward Nathan as if it were evidence. "You never even looked." The accusation hit harder than any shout. Nathan's jaw clenched. His polished shoes suddenly felt heavy on the carpet. The twins hugged Rosa's legs protectively, their small frames trembling but determined. "Go back to bed," Nathan ordered, his tone faltering between command and plea. But none of them moved. Rosa stood still, her dark eyes filled with both fear and sorrow. She knew she should step back, that this was not her fight, but her heart wouldn't let her. The cleaner, standing barefoot among scattered toys and broken silence, looked more like a guardian than an employee. Emma crossed her arms, her chin lifted in stubborn defiance. "If you make her leave," she said slowly, each word deliberate, "we'll make the next nanny quit in 1 hour." Nathan stared at her, stunned into silence. His eldest daughter, the one who had stopped speaking to anyone since the funeral, was now leading a rebellion. The tension in the room felt alive, vibrating through the walls like electricity. Rosa finally spoke, her voice calm but heavy with emotion. "Mr. Cross, I didn't mean to fall asleep. They finally settled down and I was just tired. It won't happen again." Her sincerity was disarming, her exhaustion etched into every movement. Nathan's lips parted, but no words came. He saw not a mistake, but a miracle he was too proud to accept. The weight of that realization pressed against his chest. The room fell into an uneasy silence. Rosa stood at the center, surrounded by 5 small defenders, while Nathan lingered at the doorway, half in shadow, half in regret. The children clung to her like roots to soil, unwilling to let go. For the first time, Nathan saw what he had lost long before that night. Connection, warmth, the fragile thread of love holding them all together. And as he turned away, Emma's whisper echoed behind him, "Test us." The morning light spilled across the marble floors of the Cross mansion, soft and indifferent, as if mocking the chaos of the night before. Nathan sat at the long dining table, a cup of untouched coffee cooling beside him. His children, once wild and defiant, now sat quietly, subdued but distant. Something was different. They ate together, exchanging small glances, and every few seconds one of them would ask the same question in different ways. "When is Rosita coming back?" Across the table, Nathan's assistant, Vanessa Torres, stood by with her tablet watching the silent storm. She had worked for the millionaire long enough to read his expressions even when he said nothing. "You realize," she began carefully, "that she accomplished in 6 hours what no one managed in months." Her tone was respectful but edged with challenge. Nathan didn't look up. "She was hired to clean, not to sleep," he muttered. Vanessa sighed, the corners of her mouth tightening. "Your pride or your children, sir, you can't have both." While Nathan fought an invisible war inside himself, Rosa Martinez, the cleaner, returned quietly to the mansion. She wasn't there to work, only to collect her cleaning supplies. Her uniform was neatly folded, her curls tied back, her face calm but distant. She hoped to leave unnoticed. Yet as she crossed the foyer, the sound of her footsteps caught Nathan's attention. He rose from the table as if pulled by something he couldn't name. Their eyes met. For a moment, time seemed to hold its breath. Nathan straightened his jacket, his voice even but forced. "Miss Martinez," he said, formal and restrained, "I'd like to offer you another position. Full-time nanny. I'll pay you 4 times what you make cleaning." His tone was pure negotiation, cold, efficient, transactional. Rosa's lips parted in quiet disbelief before she answered softly but firmly, "Mr. Cross, I'm a cleaner, not a nanny, and I don't work for someone who yells without reason." The rejection stung more than Nathan expected. The man who closed multi-million-dollar deals with ease found himself unable to argue with a woman in worn shoes. Before he could respond, a sudden noise interrupted. the sound of small footsteps rushing down the stairs. Emma appeared first, followed by Lucas, the twins, and Lily dragging her teddy bear. "Rosita!" Lily squealed, her little arms reaching out. Rosa froze, torn between duty and affection. The children surrounded her in seconds. Emma spoke first, her voice trembling. "Please stay. We'll be good. We promise." Lucas nodded eagerly, paint still smudged on his hands. "You made us laugh again," he said. The twins clung to her skirt, and Lily pressed her face against Rosa's leg. Nathan stood behind them, watching the scene unfold, his 5 children clinging to a woman he had fired, as if their lives depended on her answer. The millionaire felt smaller than ever before. Rosa's eyes softened as she looked at them. She saw pain behind their smiles, the hollow kind only loss could carve. She glanced at Nathan, whose expression flickered between pride and uncertainty. The cleaner exhaled slowly, the decision heavy in her chest. "I'll stay," she said at last, "but on one condition." The room fell silent. Even Vanessa, standing nearby, paused mid-step, sensing something important was about to happen. Nathan raised an eyebrow, crossing his arms in that familiar posture of control. "And what condition is that?" he asked. Rosa met his gaze without flinching. "You have dinner with your children every night. No phone, no work, no excuses." The words landed with the quiet weight of truth. Vanessa turned slightly, hiding a knowing smile. Nathan blinked, caught off guard. The millionaire who ruled boardrooms couldn't remember the last time he had truly sat with his family. For a long moment, no one spoke. The sound of the grandfather clock filled the silence, ticking softly like a heartbeat. Nathan hesitated, his ego battling something deeper. Guilt, perhaps, or the faint echo of love. Finally, he nodded. "Fine," he said, his voice low. Rosa smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly. The tension eased, and for the first time, the air inside the mansion felt alive again. Vanessa leaned closer to Nathan as Rosa guided the children back toward the kitchen. "She's not afraid of you," she whispered with quiet admiration. "And that's exactly why she'll save you." Nathan didn't answer. He just watched as the cleaner disappeared into the sunlight streaming through the hall, surrounded by laughter that no money could buy. The first move had been made, and the game was already changing. The dining room was bathed in a quiet stillness, the kind that follows an unexpected truth. Rosa stood across from Nathan, her expression calm but unyielding. The morning light kissed her dark skin, revealing both strength and exhaustion. Her words had landed like a stone in a still pond. "Dinner with your children, every night." The cleaner's voice was soft, but her tone carried the weight of someone who had nothing left to fear. Nathan stared at her as if she had spoken another language. A millionaire who commanded boardrooms with precision, suddenly being told how to parent. It felt absurd, even insulting. His instinct was to reject it, to remind her of her place. But something in her eyes, a mixture of compassion and command, made him pause. It wasn't rebellion he saw there. It was conviction. Vanessa, standing nearby, broke the silence with a whisper only Nathan could hear. "She's right. You don't lead your company by ignoring your team, do you? Why lead your family that way?" Her tone was gentle, but the words pierced like truth does. Nathan said nothing. His reflection in the polished table looked back at him, tired, hollow, and alone. After a long pause, he nodded. "Fine," he muttered, his pride fighting every syllable. Rosa smiled, a faint, knowing curve that softened the air. The children, huddled by the stairs, erupted in small cheers. For them, it was a promise of warmth they'd forgotten existed. For Nathan, it was a battle he didn't yet know he needed to win. The game had shifted again, and the cleaner now held the moral high ground. Days turned into a rhythm of hesitant attempts. Dinners began awkwardly. Nathan sat stiffly at the head of the table, scrolling through his phone, answering messages under his breath. The children whispered among themselves. Rosa, patient as ever, served food with quiet grace, humming a tune that seemed to calm the air. Her presence filled the silences Nathan refused to break. One evening, she placed a bowl in front of him and said without looking up, "They don't need a CEO, they need a father." The words hung heavy. Nathan looked at her, really looked, and for a moment the millionaire saw not an employee but a mirror. Rosa's courage was the kind born from grief, the kind he'd been too afraid to face. His throat tightened, but he said nothing. Gradually, the house began to change. Laughter returned in fragments, and uneven, hesitant but real. Rosa cooked with the children, flour dusting her arms as the twins giggled and fought over who cracked the eggs. Lucas painted at the corner of the table, his drawings pinned proudly on the fridge. Emma began talking again, softly, cautiously, like someone relearning to trust the sound of her own voice. But Nathan remained half present, a ghost seated at his own table. His eyes often drifted to his phone. His hands fidgeted with the silverware. He was there, yet somewhere else. The cleaner noticed, she always did, but said nothing. She knew healing demanded patience. Still, every night she set the table for 6, lighting a single candle at the center as if daring him to notice the glow. Then came the night when Lucas, his small voice trembling, broke the fragile routine. "You're here, but you're not," he said suddenly, the words slicing through the quiet. "Rosa listens to us. Why can't you?" The room froze. The candle flickered. Nathan looked up, and for the first time, the millionaire had no words, only the hollow echo of his son's truth filling the space between them. The silence after Lucas's words lingered like smoke. The dining room, once filled with the faint clatter of silverware, now felt frozen in time. Rosa's eyes flicked toward Nathan, her expression calm but filled with unspoken urgency. The children waited, their gazes heavy with expectation. The millionaire, so used to commanding empires, now sat defeated before his own son's truth. He rose abruptly, his chair scraping against the marble. Without a word, Nathan walked away from the table and into his office. The slam of the door echoed through the mansion like a final verdict. The children stared at their plates in silence, the candle still burning between them. Rosa exhaled slowly, her heart heavy with both sympathy and frustration. She knew this pain, the kind that hides behind anger. In the dim office, Nathan paced like a man haunted. The room, filled with sleek technology and cold perfection, reflected his isolation. His reflection in the glass window looked like that of a stranger, tired eyes, sharp suit, hollow spirit. Vanessa's voice broke through the tension as she appeared in the doorway. "Those children didn't just lose their mother," she said softly. "They lost you too." The words landed harder than any blow. Nathan turned his face away, but the truth clung to him. For months, maybe years, he had used work as armor. The millionaire who once built his empire from nothing now hid behind his own success, terrified to face the world that grief had broken. He wasn't just avoiding his children, he was avoiding himself. Vanessa's footsteps faded, leaving him alone with the quiet hum of his mistakes. Hours later, a faint cry sliced through the night. Lily, Rosa, was already running up the stairs, her footsteps light but urgent. She found the little girl thrashing in bed, sobbing for her mother. "Mama, don't leave me." Rosa sat beside her, brushing curls from her face, her voice trembling as she whispered comfort. Then she turned toward the doorway, and saw Nathan standing there, frozen. Rosa's voice firmed, low but commanding. "She doesn't need me right now. She needs you." Nathan hesitated, stunned. The cleaner took a step closer, gently placing Lily's hand into his. "Go on," she murmured. For a moment he looked like a man facing a ghost. Then awkwardly he knelt beside the bed. The candlelight trembled on his face, illuminating the cracks in his mask. Lily opened her tear-streaked eyes. "Mommy's gone," she whimpered. "Are you going to leave too?" Nathan's throat closed. His voice came out rough, uneven. "No, sweetheart. Daddy's here. I'm not going anywhere." He pulled her into his arms, clumsy but sincere. She trembled against his chest, and slowly, her breathing steadied. The mansion for once held a fragile peace. From the doorway, Rosa watched quietly. The soft lamplight brushed her face, catching the glint of moisture in her eyes. She saw not the arrogant millionaire, but a broken father learning how to feel again. The room's stillness became sacred. The sound of Lily's small heartbeat against his chest, Nathan's whispered apologies, the unspoken promise of change. The cleaner smiled faintly, her heart aching in silent hope. In that tender silence, something shifted. Nathan held his daughter longer than necessary, afraid to let go, afraid she might vanish like the rest of his past. Outside, the night was quiet, the city light shimmering beyond the windows. Inside, for the first time in 18 months, there was warmth. The mirror had cracked, but through its fractures, light was finally breaking through. The next morning was quiet, almost timid, as if the house itself were still adjusting to the sound of something new. Hope. Nathan Cross, the millionaire who once commanded boardrooms with ease, now faced a far greater challenge: breakfast with 5 children. The kitchen, once cold and immaculate, had become a living mess. Bowls, crumbs, laughter. Rosa stood by the sink, arms crossed, watching with the amused patience of someone witnessing a small miracle. Nathan tried to make pancakes, and the result was a disaster worthy of a comedy. Batter dripped across the counter, the stove hissed, and the faint smell of something burnt began to fill the air. Emma watched him with a shy smile, her first in months. Lucas laughed loudly, pointing at the crooked spatula the man held like a lost weapon. Rosa, the cleaner who had become the axis of that household, simply shook her head and said, "Looks like someone's finally learning how to be human." Later that day, Nathan tried to help Emma with her math homework, and it was a complete failure. The genius of numbers, the man who could calculate mergers in his sleep, couldn't solve a simple fraction without turning it into a corporate equation. Emma laughed, genuinely, softly, with relief. The man who had seemed made of ice was slowly cracking, and something warm began to emerge from the fractures. Rosa watched from afar, her quiet smile saying more than any words could. In the garden Lucas painted, colors burst across the canvas in blue, red, green, splattering his small hands and even the grass. Nathan approached, hesitant, unsure if he was welcome. "That's amazing," he murmured. Lucas looked up, surprised. For the first time, the boy saw his father notice something beyond numbers and success. That simple compliment meant more than any expensive gift. That afternoon, the twins dragged Nathan into a game of tag in the yard. It started awkwardly, but ended with the man in a sweat-soaked shirt, breathless and laughing for the first time in months. Rosa stood by the door laughing, holding a towel out to him. "Now that's more like it, Mr. Cross. You finally look human." He laughed back between breaths. "Exhausted, but I'll take it." The wall between master and cleaner was fading, replaced by something deeply human. At night, Nathan read a bedtime story to Lily, the little one who still slept hugging her teddy bear. His voice, rough and uncertain, stumbled over the words, but she listened as if her whole world depended on it. Midway through the story, he fell asleep beside her, the book open across his chest. When Rosa came in to check on them, she smiled softly. That image, the powerful man asleep beside his child, was a kind of poetry no money could ever buy. But peace never lasts long in the Cross mansion. Later that week, the doorbell rang suddenly. Rosa opened it and found a tall, elegant woman with perfectly styled gray hair and a severe expression. Eleanor Cross, Nathan's mother, the matriarch of ice. Her gaze swept across the house, the children's laughter, and finally landed on Rosa. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut glass. "So you're the one," she said, her tone dripping with disdain. Eleanor entered without waiting for an invitation, the sound of her heels echoing on the marble floor. Nathan came down the stairs stunned. "Mother?" She looked at him coldly. "I thought you might need help, but I see you've hired a cleaner to raise them." The poison in her voice made the air feel heavier. Rosa stood firm, though the tension was palpable. The children hid behind her instinctively, as if they could already sense who the real danger was. Nathan tried to speak, but Eleanor had already seized control of the room. The matriarch hadn't come to visit. She had come to reclaim her throne. Her icy gaze swept over the breakfast table, the children's drawings on the wall, and finally Rosa's face, filled with quiet strength. In that instant, the millionaire understood. The fragile peace they'd built was about to be tested. And Rosa, the woman who had achieved the impossible, was now about to face the most powerful enemy of all, the pride of the Cross family itself. The silence after Eleanor Cross's arrival carried the weight of a verdict. The mansion, which had only recently rediscovered laughter, now breathed fear. Rosa, the cleaner, held her posture firm, even as the matriarch's sharp gaze sliced through her like an invisible blade. Nathan, the millionaire, stood trapped between duty as a son and the instinct to protect what he was beginning to love. The air felt heavy. Even the walls seemed to sense that a quiet war was about to begin. Eleanor, with immaculate elegance, walked slowly through the hall, her eyes scanning every detail: the marble floor, the scattered toys, the faint smell of cake still lingering in the air. "Is this what your home has become?" she asked coolly, turning to Nathan. "A circus?" Her voice was soft on the surface but laced with venom underneath. Rosa took a slow breath, refusing to look away. She was a simple woman, but in that moment she might as well have been made of steel. From the upstairs window, Eleanor Cross watched it all. For the first time, her icy composure cracked. "My God, Nathan," she whispered, "what are they doing to you?" She descended the staircase, slow but determined, her pearls trembling slightly with each step. When she opened the front door, the reporters went silent. "This woman," she declared, standing beside Rosa, "has more dignity than half the people in this city." The words struck like thunder and shattered Charlotte's power. The headlines exploded within hours. Matriarch Cross defends cleaner amid affair allegations. The public was divided, some outraged, others deeply moved. Inside the mansion, the mood was fragile but alive. Rosa sat beside Nathan on the couch, their hands intertwined. "I don't know if I can take this," she whispered. "Neither do I," he admitted softly. "But if we fall together." Outside, the rain began to pour, washing the driveway clean. By morning, Charlotte was back on TV, armed with proof, edited videos, staged photos, deceit dressed as evidence. But something unexpected happened. People began defending Rosa. Former employees of the Cross Corporation came forward. "She saved those kids," one said. "The boss only started living again because of her." Slowly, the public turned. Lies crumbled under the weight of truth. That afternoon, Eleanor did something no one expected. She held a press conference inside the mansion. Standing between Nathan and Rosa, she read from a letter. "For years I confused power with respect, but true power lies in protecting the just." Her voice trembled, but her conviction didn't. Then she handed the microphone to Rosa. The cleaner took a breath and spoke, her tone calm, unshaken. "I'm not a scandal. I'm someone who chose to care when no one else would." The room fell silent. As the sun set that evening, the noise faded, leaving behind the soft sound of children laughing again. Nathan and Rosa walked through the garden where everything began, the air warm, the sky gold. "The truth has a price," she said quietly. "It does," he replied, "but it was worth every cent." The camera of imagination pulled back, framing them in the glow of dusk, a man, a woman, 5 children, and the rebirth of peace. Not a fairy tale ending, just a real one. Just when everyone thought the scandal had died down, a deeper wound opened, crueler and more personal. Charlotte Ashford couldn't accept defeat. In her luxurious office, surrounded by champagne glasses and screens flashing headlines, she smiled with the kind of cold satisfaction only resentment can breed. "They want a fairy tale," she murmured, typing something on her tablet. "Then let's see what happens when the past of the cleaner collides with the present of the millionaire." The next morning, the world woke up to chaos. News outlets screamed the same headline: "Rosa Martinez hid the daughter she abandoned at 16. The story spread like wildfire. Old photos, adoption papers, manipulated statements, everything painted one picture. Rosa was a liar. Inside the Cross mansion, the silence was deafening. The children exchanged confused looks. Nathan read the news in disbelief, his heart torn between anger and sorrow. Rosa stood frozen, clutching the newspaper. The world she had rebuilt was collapsing before her eyes. "They'll never understand, Nathan. Not what it really was." He stepped closer, voice low, gentle. "Then help me understand." She took a shaky breath, tears welling. "I was 16. No family, no home. I gave her away because I loved her too much to let her suffer with me." The silence that followed was thick, raw, painfully human. The millionaire looked at Rosa for a long time. Then something in his face softened. "You didn't abandon her," he said, his voice breaking. "You saved her." He cupped her face gently, and for a brief moment their pain merged into something sacred, understanding. The children, listening secretly from the hallway, exchanged glances. Emma wiped a tear before anyone could see. "She's not a liar," she whispered. "She's brave." But Charlotte didn't stop. She escalated. Appearing on live television, she delivered her performance like a seasoned villain. A woman who gave up her own child should not be raising the children of a man like Nathan Cross. The cameras zoomed in, catching every calculated flicker of her expression. The public divided once again, half judgment, half empathy. Rosa's name became a symbol. Not of scandal, but of the imperfect love that still dares to care. That night, Rosa locked herself in her room. Rain tapped softly against the windows, filling the void. Nathan knocked quietly. "Rosa, look at me. I don't want a perfect truth. I want yours." When she finally opened the door, her eyes were red, but her posture steady. "I don't want pity, Nathan. I just want peace," he replied softly. "Peace isn't asked for. It's built." And for the first time, she believed him. Days later, fate delivered a shock. A young woman appeared at the mansion gate, skin warm-toned, eyes deep brown, holding a folder close to her chest. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "My name is Maria Santos." Rosa froze. The world went still. That voice, that gaze, the reflection of a life she had never forgotten. "I'm your daughter." The words cut through 22 years of silence like sunlight breaking through clouds. The reunion was both a miracle and a wound. Rosa trembled, unable to move, until Maria took the first step. Then without words they embraced, long and trembling, tears soaking into each other's shoulders. Nathan watched from a distance, eyes glistening, realizing he was witnessing something money could never buy. The children gathered quietly behind him, forming a silent circle of awe and tenderness. The past and present finally touched. Maria pulled back just enough to look into Rosa's eyes. "I've always loved you," she said softly, "and now I understand why." The line hung in the air like a prayer. Rosa smiled, and fragile, luminous, free. Nathan stepped closer, placing a hand on both their shoulders. "The truth doesn't destroy the pure," he whispered. Outside, sunlight broke through the clouds, bathing the room in gold. For the first time, the Cross Mansion felt alive, not with power, but with grace. The days that followed were filled with a quiet relief, as if the Cross Mansion were finally breathing again. The chaos had faded, replaced by the soft hum of laughter and conversation. The scandal that once defined them was now dissolving into something stronger: empathy. Nathan, the millionaire, walked through the corridors with the children running around him, no longer a haunted man, but a father, alive again. Rosa and Maria began rebuilding what time had stolen. They spent long hours on the veranda, the sunlight warming their faces with a tenderness that contradicted everything they had endured. "I dreamed of finding you," Rosa said softly, "but I never imagined it would be like this." Maria smiled, her expression a mixture of grace and strength. "Sometimes love takes its time," she said, "but it always finds its way." Their embrace felt like a prayer answered by the wind. Nathan often watched from a distance, understanding now that some miracles require no words. The cleaner, the woman he had once hired out of necessity, had become the quiet axis of his world, the heart that held everything together, the house, the children, and even his own redemption. What he had spent his life searching for in numbers, she found in kindness. And in that contrast, he finally understood what wealth truly meant. Eleanor, the matriarch, had changed too, subtly, but profoundly. Her once commanding tone had softened. Her words now carried pauses and humility. One afternoon, she called Rosa to the garden. "You are not just the woman who saved my grandchildren," she said, her gaze distant but sincere. "You saved my son from himself." Rosa smiled gently. "And you saved us when you decided to see us." In that silence, forgiveness found its place. Simple, human, eternal. The mansion itself began to transform. Heavy drapes gave way to light fabrics. The windows opened to let in the breeze. On the main wall hung a new photograph. The entire family. Nathan, Rosa, the children, and Maria. No titles, no pedigrees, only faces bound by the same light. It was the portrait of something rare, the kind of family destiny builds when love wins over fear. Elsewhere, Charlotte faced her downfall. Her lies had been exposed, contracts dissolved, allies vanished. Alone in her apartment, she stared into the mirror, unable to recognize the woman she'd become. "I only wanted justice," she whispered, but her empty eyes betrayed the truth. She had wanted power. Now, with no one left to blame, she met the unbearable weight of solitude. Silence became her sentence. Meanwhile, Rosa received an unexpected proposal to open a foundation in her daughter's name, helping young mothers in vulnerable situations. Nathan offered to finance it, but she refused. "I want to build it with my own hands." He smiled in quiet respect. Then let me build the roof. It was the perfect balance. Strength and support, dignity and love. The cleaner and the millionaire now walked side by side, not as opposites but as equals. On a golden afternoon, they all gathered in the garden. The children laughed, Maria played the guitar, and Rosa, wearing a floral apron, served lemonade. Nathan watched her with the serene smile of a man who had finally understood belonging. "You turned this house into a home," he said softly. Rosa met his gaze. "And you turned this home into freedom." The sunlight embraced them, and for the first time, time itself seemed kind. Nathan tried to reason with her, but every word he spoke died under his mother's unyielding stare. "You need help, Nathan. The children are out of control, and this woman—" She paused, eyeing Rosa as though she were an intruder. "Is clearly unqualified for this." The silence that followed was brutal. Emma, who had been watching from the staircase, began to descend slowly, her face burning with restrained fury. "Rosa is more qualified than any nanny you'd ever bring, Grandma." The tension shattered like glass. Eleanor turned, stunned, her eyes narrowing. "How dare you speak to me like that?" Emma didn't flinch. "Because you're never here. You don't even know us. But Rosa does." Her words echoed through the house like a storm breaking the calm. Rosa tried to calm her, whispering for her to stop, but it was too late. The confrontation everyone feared had finally begun. Eleanor stepped back, wounded pride sharpening her tone. "Nathan, are you going to let a child disrespect me and my own family?" He stood silent. The millionaire, who had spent years living under his mother's control, now felt the chains breaking inside him. "Mother," he said evenly, "maybe it's time you rethink what respect really means." His voice was calm but firm. Rosa watched him closely, torn between fear and hope. The matriarch's lips tightened. "If this continues, I'll have no choice but to intervene. I could easily question your fitness as a father, Nathan." The threat was not emotional, it was calculated, deliberate. Vanessa, the assistant who had been watching from the corner, crossed her arms and muttered, "She's bluffing." But Nathan's expression said it all. Eleanor never bluffed. That night, Rosa sat alone in the kitchen, her gaze fixed on a cold cup of coffee. She knew she didn't belong to that world, and yet somehow she had become its heart. The dilemma consumed her. Stay and bring pain to Nathan, or leave and break the children all over again. The decision formed bitterly in her mind. Silent tears slid down her strong cheeks, unseen by anyone. By morning, a note sat on the dining table. Written in neat, steady handwriting, it read, "Thank you for letting me love you." Emma found it first. Her cry echoed through the house, waking everyone. Lucas locked himself in his room. The twins refused to speak. Lily wept endlessly, clutching her teddy bear. Chaos had returned, and when Nathan saw the note, he felt a hollow ache that no amount of success could ever fill. On the living room wall, where children's drawings once hung, there was a new message scribbled in crayon by small, furious hands. "I hate Grandma." The innocent yet tragic symbol of a home broken once again. And at the center of that collapse, the millionaire finally understood. The woman he had underestimated, the cleaner who tamed the impossible, had become the most powerful absence of all. But deep down, he knew this wasn't the end of the story. Chaos had returned to the Cross Mansion like a long, foretold storm. The laughter that once filled the halls had been replaced by slamming doors, muffled cries, and angry silence. Emma refused to leave her room. Lucas locked himself inside, painting his walls in dark colors, expressing what he couldn't say. The twins cried quietly, and little Lily called for Rosa in the middle of the night. Nathan, the millionaire, wandered the corridors aimlessly, realizing that all his fortune was worth less than the emptiness surrounding him. The house, once filled with opulence, now resembled a mausoleum. White walls reflected a loneliness that no wealth could disguise. Nathan stared into the mirror of his office and barely recognized himself. Wrinkled suit, deep eyes, a broken expression. For the first time, he admitted failure, not in business but in life. The man who had conquered the world had lost his home. Vanessa, his assistant and the only rational voice in the chaos, entered without knocking. "You need to stop running, Nathan. Rosa didn't put you here, your pride did." He looked at her, drained. "She left because of me." Vanessa nodded softly. "Then go after her. but not as the millionaire who thinks he can buy everything. Go as the man she taught how to feel. Her words hit him harder than any loss, and Nathan knew it was time. Meanwhile, the children were falling apart. Emma, her face swollen from crying, looked at her siblings and whispered, "Grandma ruined everything." Lucas, his hands still stained with paint, muttered, "Dad did too." The silence that followed was deafening. They didn't hate their father. They were just tired of broken promises. On the wall, a new drawing appeared, a smiling family with one empty space between them. The space where Rosa belonged. Nathan climbed the stairs slowly, the weight of guilt in each step. He found Emma sitting on the floor, surrounded by her siblings. "You're right," he said, voice trembling. "I left you alone. I let your mother go. And now I let Rosa go too. But I won't lose anyone else." The children watched him cautiously until Lily approached, touching his cheek. "Will you bring Rosita back, Daddy?" He closed his eyes and whispered, "Yes, sweetheart, I will." That night, Nathan faced his greatest fear, his mother. Eleanor sat in the living room, calm as a statue. "I see the cleaner is gone." "Finally, a sensible decision," she said. He stood still for a moment before answering, "Yes, Mother. I've made a decision. Just not the one you think." Eleanor's face hardened. "What are you saying?" Nathan took a breath. "I'm saying that for the first time I'm choosing what's right, not what's acceptable." The confrontation between mother and son was both devastating and liberating. "You never approved of Claire. You'd never approve of anyone who doesn't bow to your rules. But those kids were happy, Mother, for the first time since she died. And it was because of Rosa." Eleanor stood furious. "That woman is manipulating you." Nathan's voice was calm but unshakable. "She didn't manipulate me. She taught me what love really means." The silence that followed was the sound of a crown falling. Without another word, he left the house to find Rosa. The night was cold, the city a maze. He found her packing her few belongings in a small boarding house. When she saw him at the door, Rosa froze. "Mr. Cross," she said formally. He shook his head, and Nathan. "Call me Nathan." His voice trembled, not from weakness but from truth. "I was a coward, Rosa, but my kids are right. You're not just the babysitter. You're the heart that kept us alive. Please, stay." Rosa hesitated, her eyes torn between pain and love. Then a soft voice broke the silence behind him. It was Lily, wearing pajamas, sleepy eyes glistening. She had followed her father. Tugging at Rosa's dress, she whispered, "Rosita, you're our second mommy. Don't go." Tears finally escaped Rosa's control. She knelt, hugging the girl tightly as Nathan wrapped his arms around them both. For the first time, they all cried. Not from pain, but from release. But peace never lasts long. Across the street, a figure watched from inside a black car. Charlotte Ashford, Nathan's ex-fiancée. Her eyes, sharp and cold, gleamed with jealousy and quiet rage. A bitter smile formed on her lips. She lifted her phone, dialed a number, and said softly, "Let's see how long the cleaner's fairy tale lasts." Love had conquered pride, but the war was only beginning. The next morning felt too quiet, like the silence before a storm that everyone senses but no one dares to name. Rosa had returned to the Cross mansion, and though the air was lighter, it carried a strange tension. The children played in the garden, pretending nothing had happened, but their laughter was thin, fragile. Nathan, the millionaire, stood on the balcony, his face calm but his eyes hollowed by guilt. He knew that love in their world always came with a price. Meanwhile, Charlotte Ashford was already setting her trap. Inside a glass-walled office overlooking Beverly Hills, she sat in a white designer dress, surrounded by lawyers and ambition. Her manicured fingers slid across a folder marked, "Private Investigation, Nathan Cross." "If the millionaire wants a new life," she purred. "Let's see what happens when the world finds out who he's sleeping with." The cruelty in her tone was colder than the steel skyline behind her. The scandal had a countdown. Back at the mansion, Rosa sensed the shift before the phone even rang. Journalists swarmed the gates, flashes flickering through the windows like lightning. Vanessa burst into the study, pale and breathless. "They published it, Nathan. It's everywhere. They're saying you hired the cleaner to cover up a scandal, that she's your mistress." Silence fell, heavy as a storm cloud. Rosa froze. Nathan shut his eyes. The children watched from the stairs, confused and terrified. The world was tearing apart again. Hours later, chaos ruled. Reporters shouted questions, cameras chased every movement. and microphones crowded the front door. Rosa tried to hide, but Nathan caught her hand firmly. "No, you're not running this time. They need to see who you really are." Together, they stepped into the blinding flash of cameras, the millionaire and the cleaner standing side by side, defying the noise. That image would burn itself into the city's memory. Love against destruction. As evening fell, the imaginary camera pulled back slowly, revealing the full scene. The mansion glowing in the sunset, laughter echoing through the air, and a love that had finally found peace after so much pain. Rosa's voice lingered, gentle and wise. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who chooses to stay when the world tells them to go. What began as a dismissal ended as the greatest job of all, learning how to love without conditions. And so, between the luxury of the mansion and the simplicity of the hands that rebuilt it, the true miracle took shape. Love stopped being a wound and became a legacy. Rosa, the cleaner, and Nathan, the millionaire, proved that the greatest stories aren't born from perfection, but from the courage to keep going even when everything seems lost. What began as a scandal ended as a lesson, that dignity isn't bought, it's cultivated. And sometimes destiny only waits for us to forgive before allowing us to bloom. If this story moved you, let it remind you to look beyond appearances and believe that every new beginning is possible. Subscribe to the channel, share this story, and join a community that believes in the power of redemption, the beauty of truth, and the quiet strength of love. Because in the end, what truly matters isn't what we've lost, but what we choose to rebuild.